triple check that we're not recording live.
There's a button that says we're live.
We're live, but what we're doing is we're recording to an unlisted location on the Facebook channel.
Okay, cool.
No one will see it, and then I can take it out. There one I did with a guy named Glenn Seal, where I had no idea until Skeeter contacted me and said, "Hey, I was looking on the chat room," and then blah blah blah. I'm like, "What chat room?"
Surprise.
All right, so let me do the little intro here. So, okay, get head together. I had a beer before this.
So I had several, so it's cool.
I am a serious lightweight. Okay, so, all right. Hi, I'm Uncle Matt. This is Uncle Matt's D&D Neighborhood, and I have with me here Ala Fedorova. Say hi, Ala.
Hello.
So Ala is, as a lot of people probably know, is one of the players in my online games that we run, Heroes of Jordiba and Swords of Jordiba. Ala is the only person who is in both of the groups, and the patrons on the Patreon wanted to. I asked, who should I interview, and one of the things they said was interview the players, and so that's what we're doing. And so, and I should say, we have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/Uncle Matt is all of it. And so getting the thumbs up from Ala, you gotta talk if you want to grab the screen, Ala, you have to talk. So
good point. That's right, we're in Google Hangouts.
Right, I know. So yeah, because we don't have Zach here to do all of the technological wizardry he normally does. So I mean, we're gonna be in a totally not normal interview format because this is about players, and we're people who are watching this have probably seen you and me playing every week, 2 games every week. So yeah,
for the last couple of months. So yeah, I think they should know us by this point.
So I'm not gonna. I won't start with any deep questions about gaming theory or anything.
I've got opinions on it.
Let's hear them.
May not always be good ones. No, we'll get into that later. Let's start with the light stuff. Okay. And as I sober up,
we were saying before we started the show that I've had 1 beer and I'm a serious lightweight, and Al is just coming off of a happy hour. So
yeah, I pre-party before all the things. All right.
So all right, so you want to start with the easy questions. I guess the easiest of all questions is, when did you start gaming? What rule set was it with, and what was the framework? I mean, was it with a large group of people that got you in, or was it you alone got the thing and started other people? How'd that start?
So this was, God, I don't want to date myself, but this was nearly 2 decades ago. I was a bright-eyed young middle schooler at the time. I was extremely young. I think maybe 13 or so. But I think 3.5 had just released their starter set. So it was like a big box of the basics that you needed to play. And my girlfriends and I, of course, girlfriends, because we were young and impressionable and super into fantasy everything. We had found the starter set at our local game store. And it was at a video game store, not a traditional game store. But we had found the starter set, and we're like, we're gonna do this, because of course at the time, when was this? Like late 90s. It was still kind of sort of not a thing people did. So yeah. It was kind of one of those the coming back from the 90s of kids don't play Dungeons and Dragons. That's bad for them. But we had found the starter set, and we had just started playing it. And before I knew it, sort of spawned into a whole series and an obsession for me at this point in my life. That's how I met my husband. So it was good. So it was totally a good obsession in my life. So
there you go. And y'all had the most awesome fantasy geek nerd wedding I've ever heard about.
A phenomenally full spectrum geek wedding out of that. But we had met through sort of my gaming experience had grown through. I started with 3.5, but I played AD&D and 2nd edition, and I played Swords and Wizardry at North Texas RPG Con, which is a fabulous con. Everybody should go to that. But I played some of that. I played a whole bunch of other game systems, and then Pathfinder came out, and it was a good like transition from 3.5 into Pathfinder. So I played a lot of that, and I met my husband through a 3.5 game, and that's yeah, can't say
And that's
any more than
clearly worked out well. So
that. Yeah, clearly he's playing in our Monday game with us.
that's
So
right.
yeah.
I mean, I should point out, Gabe is in the fifth edition group. Ala is in both of the two, switching off between the old school and the fifth edition. But Gabe is in the fifth edition, and we part of our issue just is with the amount of screen real estate that you can do in an online game. So
Yes.
you do
Yeah.
have to find though. We've got Zach Smith and Ian are both out next session, so
Oh boy.
it's you and Gabe unless we find you somebody else who can get a fifth edition character in there and keep you guys out of trouble.
Well, I mean, we could probably find people that can get fifth edition characters in there because one thing, again, fifth edition has sort of replaced a lot of other editions. I used to love Pathfinder a lot, but fifth edition is really just super easy to get into. It's great to teach, and like we could probably make fifth edition characters super easy, and I can find bodies for that. If we need bodies, we can find some.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we don't even need bodies. We just really need faces to be on the.
I've got really photogenic friends.
Do you? Okay, cool.
Yeah, you really do.
We'll go for photogenic. We'll have a photogenic session because
Yeah,
Lord knows that I'm not going to be able to hold up my end on that one.
you contribute the most important part, which is the setting the scene and building like the world. And if you guys haven't played with Matt is one of the most phenomenal DMs I've ever played with. Because to be able to manage the amount of people and the setting and everything else. Okay, I'll stop.
All right.
Praising you, but
one of the things that you started with when you were talking about starting with the 3.5 was that your group of friends was already super into fantasy.
Yes.
What was that from? Was that from comic books or anime, or what was the because with the folks my age, it was pretty much Conan books and comic books, and there was sort of a set of things that everyone had in common. And since you're from a younger group, what was it that was feeding fantasy right at that point?
So all of us were super into just fantasy in general. And I'm trying to think. Oh, the Dragonlance books were really popular at the time. So we had all read Dragonlance. We had all read all the big fantasy books coming out in that general area. And my memory is sort of blanking about that time period in my life because it was a long, long time ago. But it was a combination of the Dragonlance books were coming out. We had watched anime too, so we were just giant nerds across the board. And it was the one hobby that wasn't super popular, and as the total nerds of our class, we just had we found it, and it was oh, this encompasses everything we love. Because one of my friends that we had started playing with is now designing escape rooms and sort of the
that's so cool
hypothetical big scale RPG kind of ideas and game spaces. So we kind of grew from that as our shared mutual interest of building worlds, exploring characters, just role playing, being somebody else besides the awkward teenagers that we were.
Yeah. Can you pop your microphone down just slightly?
Sorry. Are you getting
the breathing into it a little?
Yeah. Downside of this mic. Sorry.
So let's see. So that was the sort of cloud of fantasy that was going on right at that time. When did you get into comic books? Because I know that you're able to talk
into comic books too.
With Skeeter on an equal level about comic books, and that's my one thing. I don't do comic books, so.
It was a little bit after high school. It was when I befriended a bunch of comic book store nerds. Basically, I had friends that run a comic book store, and that's about when I started DMing too. Is that I started running the Adventure Leagues and Pathfinder Society at comic book stores and playing in that store and cosplaying too because they had events. So I would just be oh well, sure, I'll dress up.
I thought I had seen a couple of pictures. Yeah. Cosplaying. Okay.
I don't do it except I have friends that are professional cosplayers and they're amazing and their work is phenomenal. I'm just a cash. I don't have the free time to sew and do
Yeah,
elaborate.
I don't understand how that's done. I mean, I was doing Renaissance Festival stuff, and I was like, "Oh, hey, I'll just learn how to sew and put this together." And I had this thing come out like looking like a bird's nest.
It's a lot of work. So I've got friends on like every different sort of spectrum of the nerd hobbies, and it's really fun to see what they create.
Me, I'm like making stuff out of plaster and everything for the dungeon walls and stuff. So I
Again,
love.
phenomenal, and it's fantastic, and like it really is such a different experience from what I used to like because I've played on Roll20 and a lot of the other like map tools and Fantasy Grounds, the online versions, but this sort of gives us that same sort of tactile tabletop experience.
Yeah, so it feels like you're at
Cool.
a table still, but
Mhm.
although I got to say, the person I most enjoy the reactions to that stuff is Skeeter because he will panic at something that he sees.
Mhm. Oh my god, yes. I think he's
That's
just played
incredibly
games so
rewarding.
long with you and is expecting everything to be deadly with good reason. But he's sort of just expecting every shadow to kill us.
Yeah, it was. I think Skeeter. Well, it's I love watching people do that because it was like when Zach Smith decided that there was a miniature over here that was. I told him it was a pile of fish, and he shoots it with the crossbow just because it's a mini, so there must be something there. And it's like, nope, it's a pile of fish.
It's
I
not
just used
terrain.
a mini.
It's not terrain. It could be danger. You never know. Better safe than
But yeah, I
sorry.
love. So let's talk a little bit. We've got two directions that we can go, and I
Mhm.
think that the patrons, I think, pretty much just want to get to know the people that are in the game. Want to get to know Skeeter and everybody that's in there and get a little bit more depth to it. So I don't think it matters whether what we do is talk about the game or talk about sort of opinions on gaming. But are you ready for the tougher questions on opinions on gaming?
Sure, and they're going to be unfiltered because like I said, I pre-partied, so hopefully they
Right.
won't be too strong of an opinion.
All right. So what does Beer say is your most controversial of those gaming opinions?
Oh man. Oh god. Oh. You're gonna need to narrow it down a little bit, at least
What's going to piss
a
off
little
the
bit.
most what's going to piss off the largest number of people out of the various nerd things you could say about games?
Mm, okay. I
or
think
you can
Thaco
talk
was
or you can talk about the
unnecessary.
games.
I really think Thaco was unnecessary, and I really like the change that was made from 3.5 up. It's just going full edition. We don't need to do any addition like subtraction.
Right.
Just that way you just keep it consistent, and it's a lot easier.
So ascending armor class then.
Yeah, ascending armor class. You don't why I don't know why we did need to go to ascending. Like because you're comparing the two things anyway.
I think Thaco
Like,
was trying to fix the fact that they'd start. I heard a story somewhere. I don't know if it's true, but there was some naval war game that they used at some point that had descending because you were trying to roll
mm,
over the top of it with a couple of dice, and I think that may be where the descending armor class started from. But yeah, so ascending armor class. All right, that's a good one. That's a good one. You would piss off a lot of people with that one.
yeah, some people feel very strongly about that. I just feel like from an accessibility standpoint, if you're trying to get more people into it, the less complex you make the rules, the better it is. And I think that's where fifth edition really shines. It really just streamlined a lot of the rules and made it more accessible to the mass population.
Now, you mentioned at one point that fifth edition was easy to teach, and then now you're talking about accessibility. So I take it that you actually bring people in gaming and teach them how to game.
I've done that a bit when I was DMing at game stores, but we recently started a local like traditional tabletop, everybody's around the table campaign, and two of our players have never played anything before.
Hmm.
So for us to like explain the rules and to get them so they're not just overwhelmed with rules, because like I love Pathfinder, but it's very number crunchy, and if you don't know the rules, it's just going to be overwhelming. And so in terms of just content and splat books to read through, if you can just give people a relatively easy system, uh, an understandable progression metric, it becomes easier to teach, easier to bring people into the hobby.
Progression metric meaning
Just in
first
terms
level,
of
second level, third level, or in terms of learning this, then adding on, learning this, then adding on,
a
learning
little
this.
bit of both. So the progression is pretty streamlined. Like you have like a flat increase every 3-4 levels or so of your like profession bonus, or I'm blanking out,
Proficiency.
but proficiency bonus. That's the one. And so you're it's not overwhelming in terms of like everything all at once. You got to know all the things. You sort of just grow, and your character grows, and you get this like flat bonus that grows with you over time.
So that leaves me with my one beer that I had out of actual questions. So you want to talk about the game, or you want to talk about more game theory stuff? Where you want to wander off to in this interview?
Um, either option works. We can talk about the game because I'm seeing it from two perspectives, which is interesting.
Yes, you've got two different groups.
I
That
know
was
because like I'm in one group that starts shit, and then I'm in another group that cleans it up, like vice versa usually. So it's interesting.
how do you, yeah, okay, so this is an interesting question because a lot of the times I don't get much of an objective perspective on how these games work unless I actually watch them later, because I'm so
Mm-hmm.
much into moving stuff around and running the story and things like that. What's your if you had to characterize those two groups of people in party one, party two, is it just one starts stuff and one finishes it? Or because I don't know which one would be which one starts it?
It
The
really
fifth
depends. Like
edition?
recently, the fifth edition group has been starting a lot of shit, which has been sort of resolved by the Swords and Wizardry group, which is kind of exciting. But I fully suspect that the Swords and Wizardry, with their interesting dining habits, will likely start some other shit that the fifth edition group, which is arguably a little bit saner, just a little bit.
The fifth
But
edition group is saner, you think?
I mean, they don't eat things that they kill. So like there's a spectrum of sanity that both groups are on, and one of them is definitely towards the evil alignment ish, if we're going by any sort of alignment platform, where the other group is just a little bit more just chaotic but more well intentioned.
Which makes it really funny watching Jim trying to be the cleric who's reining in the swords of
Trying
Jordiba.
so hard, and I really appreciate that. And I wish I wasn't playing like a total idiot who was just following whatever the elves would do. But um, I love our Swords or Wizard group. They're ridiculous.
Jim is Hazeltine is really awesome with that stuff. I mean, he and I have been gaming. I was going to say since we were 5, but we've known each other since we were 5, and we've been gaming since we were 10. He was the best man at the wedding, so he'll call me on my shit. So I think he is probably enjoying the issue of how exactly to manage to keep these guys, sort of at least within some kind of moral boundaries that are acceptable to
They're just
civilization.
very loose moral boundaries. It's like a basket of like madness, and he's just trying to keep us all from spilling out of that basket by adjusting the width of it.
Yeah, he's definitely done some recent adjustments on the width of
Yeah,
the basket.
he's trying to ameliorate the madness as best as he can, and I appreciate that.
He's not actually gonna eat the dead, but he will sell Tabasco sauce that's designed for being eaten with sentient human.
That's
sapient.
fantastic. His church is already in poor repair. You gotta sometimes just bend the rules a little bit to make it work and to go along with the party, because I'm all about party cohesion. So it's good that the party is getting along and finding a common bond in not quite cannibalism, but almost there.
Almost cannibalism.
One
One thing that's been really interesting to watch is the development, because this is the first time I've ever run online games, and I pulled together people who didn't know each other at all, and watching the camaraderie develop in those two groups has been real interesting.
For sure. I think the Swords and Wizardry group is fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to meeting all of them in person in June. And I think Gabe and I both agree that Ian's like one of our favorite people ever.
Oh yeah,
He's just
he is
phenomenal.
awesome. He is way better in person too. I mean,
Oh yeah,
I have to warn you,
I really hope he's going to be there in June too.
Ian. Oh, I'm sure he will be. Ian is someone you got to don't just without thinking do something that he suggests.
That's reasonable. We enjoy playing with Zach too, but Ian's just has a special place in our hearts.
He's awesome.
He's yeah.
Oh God.
And I gotta applaud you for doing a great job at finding all these like. I mean, we all have a shared passion, but the fact that you found all these different individuals and put them together, and the fact that we can all get along and have so many shared interests and can make it work is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty disparate group of people. It really was funny when I was looking at the screen in the Swords and Wizardry group and realized that we could be um, the cast of an action movie type of thing. You know, we had absolutely everybody fitting all the stereotypes. You know, you got ex-army. You know, you got Skeeter in there. You got you're the computer programmer. I'm the lawyer. That was a perfect fit all across the board.
Oh man, it's your fun group.
So, all right. So the camaraderie developing in that, and yeah, this is going to be an edit pause that I cut out because I got nothing.
No, it's all right. It's all right. We got it's hard to do an interview after.
Oh, it is. Well, you know, especially shouldn't have had that beer, but it was a really good. Actually, it was a disgusting beer. It was one of those root beer flavored beer
Oh yeah.
things.
Oh, have you tried the cherry soda one? Because that one's phenomenal. Like, not I think it's not your grandpa's whatever, but
That's what this is. Only it's a root beer
yeah.
one.
So that was really popular, but there's one that's usually right next to it, but there's a cherry soda variety that I prefer because it's delicious, and it tastes like cherry soda.
I really like root beer, so
So yeah, it's dangerous because the not your grandpa's root beer stuff is it's strong.
it's not non-alcoholic
Yeah, it's deceptively root beer.
because it's so sugary, I think. But yeah, so that was what I was drinking. I'd probably be having another one right now, except it was the last one out of the six pack that I think I've had that beer for a year, maybe. I have some Shock Top Orange. It's a wheat beer, I think. I like wheat beer.
Wheat beer is pretty good, especially like with a little bit of citrus, like the Shock Tops with just like that splash of orange. Yeah. We just we came back from the brewery that's down the hill from us, and they've got they do mostly really weird beers, which is hit or miss. And my husband likes IPAs, where I'm more of a sours kind of person. So I like fruity things that are most people would just like, oh, why would you drink that? That tastes like, you know.
Well, see, I take that all the way to the classic girly drink. If I'm going to drink, I'm usually going to drink a daiquiri or something like that.
Daiquiris are delicious, but like the brewery here, like they put their name on the map by having one of the best raspberry Berliner Weisses on like in the South. So it's a pretty phenomenal Berliner Weiss. But like
South,
they use like
South being, by the way, Alabama, which is
so we're in Alabama. And I grew up in Texas, so I drank all the Texas beers, which unfortunately, until I left, wasn't really growing in the microbrewing market. But since my husband likes to brew, I've sort of developed a palate for more interesting things.
Wait, he likes to brew, so you guys actually brew beer at your house?
So we haven't brewed a lot since we moved here, but while we were living in Houston, we used to brew a lot. So we had like a stout we had a chai spice stout that we did that was really popular with our friends. It was very good. We brewed a couple ciders, and I think we brewed, I can't remember the wheat beer we brewed. I think it was a raspberry wheat, but it was also very tasty.
Were you there when you were at North Texas? Was that one of the years that Jim Johnson and
They brought a bunch of homebrewed stuff.
yeah, and they'd
Yes, and
made
that was
like
phenomenal.
labels on it with the Black Wizard
Hmm.
Stout and all of that?
We did that too, and at some point, I'm gonna send you the labels we had for Gabe's beer
Uh-huh.
because we've got a label and everything too. But we were hoping like we will be flying in, so we won't be able to bring in beer, unfortunately. But we might try to get a brew made for North Texas RPG Con and somehow get it there if we can. But we'll
I
see.
guess you must be able to mail alcohol
You
because they
can
have
mail
a
it to a certain extent, and I think you can check a certain amount, but we're gonna try.
yeah. You got to be able to bring at least. I mean the Jordiba gaming contingent is going to be as big as the Frog God Games contingent
Right?
this time around. There's going to be a lot of us. We get gang colors or something.
So, like knowing that you like weedy beers, maybe we'll put one of those in our put that on the pipeline, and then see what we can make.
I generally do not drink a whole lot during conventions.
That's reasonable.
I will drink that one beer, but I get overwhelmed at conventions where I'm sleepy just from seeing people all over the place and people coming up and talking to me and the whole bit.
Well,
But
yeah.
I know who I know who I need to introduce you to, because if you started with the Dragonlance novels, then you need to meet Larry Elmore.
Oh, Jesus. I would probably die and
He's gonna
like just
he's gonna be there, and you won't be the first person that I've pushed up to Larry. He'll probably it'll I've pushed a guy named Rusty at Gary Con, because he was like, "Oh no, I'm too nervous to meet Larry Elmore." And I like turned him around and I said, "Larry," really, really loudly, and he was just like, "Oh my god!" It's like,
yeah, I would
this guy
probably
is
do that.
too
I'd just be like,
shy.
I'm not a person. I'm gonna be at your left queue for the rest of the con.
Yeah, no, I mean, I walk people up and I'm like, "This person's too shy to introduce themselves to you, Larry." And he's the world's nicest guy. He
Oh
really
God, I
is.
bet. Like all the creators and like amazing people that I've met have been just super nice and amazing down to earth people, and but we build them up as fans in our head as sort of like something else, and then we just don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah. Well, you know what you need to do is you need to tag along with Jim Wampler when he goes and talks to Larry, because what happens is that because Jim is from the same part of the country as Larry, which is I think it's Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
It's Kentucky, Tennessee, somewhere like this. And when you hear the two of them talking to each other, it's like this descent to the accent, because each one of them starts getting a little more Kentucky, and then the next one hears that and starts getting a little more Kentucky, and they're not doing it on purpose. It's just they're hearing the accent. They're both dropping back. They're dropping back. They're dropping back, and at the end of it, it's just like hillbilly town. Jim and Larry talking to each other. So
It's amazing.
you need to you need to
I
tag
need
along with
well,
Jim.
I love Jim. He's just an amazing person and a phenomenal artist. So just yeah, I'll probably fangirl while I'm there anyway. So
He'll yeah no he'll probably give you a much more uh normal urbane introduction to Larry Elmore that'll go something like, Larry, this is one of the people that I play with in the game. It's Ala Fedorova, instead of Larry, this person is too shy to introduce herself to you.
and I was like, the usual.
So, well, Skeeter really used to do that the first couple of North Texas cons that he went to. He couldn't stop himself. He'd bow like this, and he called it his geisha bow. But every time he got introduced to somebody, who was a name from TSR or something like that, he couldn't stop himself. He'd do this little bow thing.
I totally believe it, and like I still haven't quite got. I should be used to this by now, but like, so my father-in-law is one of the original developers of Atari.
Mm-hmm.
So he made Battlezone, which was one of my favorite games growing up. Anyway, so like
Wow.
going through that whole process of it's just like, really cool people. All of these are people are just like and this is what I grew up with, and just meeting those people for the first time it's overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, it gets. I mean, I'm used to it now at North Texas, but it's still every once in a while. I got off out of a cab one year, and we were all at. Actually, this must have been Gamehole Con, not North Texas. But I got out of the car, and we were all at Alex Kammer's at this bar that was doing the thing. And so I got out of the cab, and I came straight from the airport. So I'm carrying the luggage, and the first person to spot me and wave hello is Errol Otis, and he's like, "Hey, Matt," and I'm just like. And Errol, I mean, I guess he was before the stuff that you started out with, but oh my God, just the
I'm
art.
familiar with his work over the years.
My thing with him is like yours with Larry Elmore. It's just, this is the person who shaped the way that I thought of fantasy looking. And so, um, I mean, the first time that he was in a game with me and he caught me in the hallway afterwards and said, "You're a great GM." And I was like, I can die now.
Yeah, check.
Yeah, exactly. Check. So.
Oh yeah, like no, I'm familiar with his work in some of the older edition books. God, his art is just so amazingly 70s and 80s,
It's
I guess,
trippy.
but it's just so psychedelically trippy, and this was why I started playing D&D in the first place. So
I think he must have been a much angrier man when he was younger than he is now, because the art from back then is just you sense anger behind it.
there's definitely something there,
Yeah.
but it's something amazing and weird and creative that it worked well for a lot of people. I mean, including us. It clearly made an effect on us.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
God.
So. But yeah, no, North Texas is a lot of fun. It's really funny. A lot of these interviews just end up being like infomercials for North Texas.
The con, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great con because it's still relatively small in terms of cons that I've been to, but you get a good experience out of it.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot larger now than it was when you were there. I mean, it's up to I think it's still at the same place. It's up to like 800 people, something like that. So I mean, it's definitely a small con.
Yeah, I've stopped going to larger cons simply because they're just too overwhelming. But the smaller, I think it gets you more of that personal interaction. You get to do what you want. You get to interact with the people that you want, and it's not quite so just too much.
Yeah, I've always wondered. Yeah, 'cause I'm in sort of an odd circumstance. I mean, I don't much like crowds, so I didn't go to conventions, for years and years and years. And then by the time I was at North Texas, I was already in the sort of known personage kind of category. And so I don't have a whole lot of experience being at a con just as a regular con goer. But I think at North Texas, when I'm looking around at like all the industry, quote unquote industry people that I'm hanging out with, I think there is more connection, with the regular con goers, who are the attendees at North Texas, than there is at like I don't know, Game Hall Con. I mean, there's always a lot. I think there's always a lot more interaction than people think is going on. I mean, it's like, Larry Elmore is not going to be at all upset when you get introduced to him, either by me or by Jim Wampler, and it's going to happen because Wampler's probably watching this video. So, you're.
Hey Jim, I'm so glad you're playing with us
now. Well, Skeeter could too. I mean, he's everyone's always happy to see Skeeter wherever he shows up. It's all of a sudden the whole room sort of just turns its attention on Skeeter.
He's a fun person.
Oh, he's awesome. So, all right. Well, say anything else, that when you're gaming and people are watching us playing, what's going to help people think to themselves, aha, I know about Ala, that she's probably going to do this and such. What's your favorite? What's your favorite tactic for a character to use?
Oh, it really, yeah. Okay, so I tend to get really into characters when I play, so all my characters have a slightly different tactic. Tovek is an interesting character in that he's very much a fanboy, and he's sort of okay with whatever the elf is doing. So his tactic is just going to be, protect everybody else because he also understands that he's a dwarf and a little bit thicker, but tactically he's not really smart. But in general, my alignment for most characters is going to be on like chaotic good like scale and tends more to the chaotic than the good. So anything that is as ridiculous as possible for a character to do, I'm probably going to do it.
Of course, Zach Smith's got you topped with.
Yeah, he's like chaos to the max, and I think if poor Just Steve doesn't make it, I think I'm gonna just turn it up a notch of even crazier than Just Steve.
You're gonna out weird Zach.
It's gonna be difficult. It's very difficult to out weird Zach, and I almost don't want to because he's sort of just that random element of, yeah, sure, I'll dig through 10 feet of mud for an hour or two until we get to floor number 2, I guess.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure he can be out weirded. He's he's missing the game this week because he's got an art show in New York at whichever gallery it is that does his stuff in New York. So he's got to be there, making sure that the rent gets paid and stuff. So that's where he's going to be. So
reasonable and totally forgivable.
Which will let you bring in your photogenic friends, and we'll have a photogenic frenzy.
I will ask if they're free on Monday, and see if they would like to hop in on a session.
Awesome. I think we can get up to a total of 5 players. I think is how many people we can fit on a screen. So
okay, so
and it's only going to be you and Gabe. So you've got like 3 slots you can fill.
Okay. I'll see if they're available this weekend. Okay. And then I will get back to you on that. And I'm sure they would love an experience of just playing with old school D&D masters.
All right. Well, I got nothing else. What about you?
Oh boy. I'm really bad at interviews, so I don't have anything else I want to cover unless there's any other pressing questions that the viewers have.
Fact of the matter is I'm not terribly good at interviews myself, but we don't have, like I said, we don't have a live audience, so we can't go to a chat room and see what people are
that might be interesting maybe for future ones if you want to do that with the rest of the guests, just to have like a live interview question where they get thrown out some curveballs.
Yeah, it would be interesting. There's benefits to recording it first, and then there's benefits to doing it live. And I think people who are shy don't like the idea of doing a live interview.
That's reasonable. Although most of us are playing live and therefore are just on some sort of ball Woodward, presented with a sort of like live recording experience.
Oh, you mean the people that are in the game groups?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'll throw them in front of a live audience, easy, no problem. No, I was thinking about, because all the other interviews, a lot of times I'm talking to, designers or writers or artists or people.
Yeah. So, they're behind the scenes, and they're just amazing people that make everything we love happen with their creativity, and I applaud them for it.
It's a lot of fun going around and talking, because even, because I know a lot of them, but it's mostly the old school, people that I know. And so, talking to people like Stephen McFarland, who was one of the people, behind Pathfinder and 4th edition and 3.5. So that was, that was a lot of fun, because it was like, hi, you wrote a bunch of games that are the ones that I cast as villains in.
Yeah.
So that was
sort of see that.
So yeah, he's working for Paizo, and of course he's in the middle of the whole storm now, because he's the guy, or one of the 2 guys who are the main people writing the 2nd edition of Pathfinder. So he's having a lot of fun with fans out on the internet these days, I think.
Oh yeah, I bet. I've seen some strong feelings out there. I haven't read the rules myself, but I've heard mostly positives. So I'm gonna just stay with that. Actually, I have one of my old coworkers went to work for Paizo on the IT side, so that's always interesting to see all the different
Paizo's a fascinating company. They really are, because they came just from absolutely, pretty much nothing, and then skyrocketed.
Yes, and I got shout out to their writers. Their adventure paths are phenomenal. Just again, I met my husband playing Pathfinder. We played Curse the King Crimson Throne together, which is one of their best modules, easily by far. Just amazingly well written, super good.
Who wrote that one?
Oof, I
One
don't know
Greg
off the
Vaughn.
top of my head. Hold on, let me look that up. We enjoyed it a lot, and we had a really good DM at the time, and that helped. But that is just a very good module. Believe it is several people that wrote that.
Is Greg Vaughn in there?
Yes.
He's my roommate for North Texas.
Jesus, of course. Well, I don't know if he's going to be in North Texas, but I'm going to be like, you're the reason my husband and I got married.
He'd love that. No, Greg. Greg's a great roommate. We had a really hilarious thing happen. I guess it was last North Texas or Game Hall or somewhere, because it was like I can't even describe how this happened, but we each kept thinking that the other one was asleep in the room. And so I guess what happened was I got up first, and it was like really early and for no good reason. And so I got up and I left, and I didn't take a shower. I was just, leaving to go and grab breakfast or something. And so he wakes up and he goes over and wants to see if I'm in the bed. And so he poked the bed, and apparently I must have left a backpack or something on there. So he made contact with something. So he thought that I was in the bed. And so off he goes, leaving the lights out. And he puts the do not disturb sign on the door. So then at 11 o'clock, I come back because I need to take a shower. And I come up and, oh my God, he's got a do not disturb sign on the door here. And so I peek in, the lights are all still out. And I'm like, oh man, he must have been, really drunk last night or something. So I very quietly went in, took a shower, left all the lights out, got back out of the room, and we managed to keep doing this. It wasn't until the next day that we realized that we'd been trading. Anyway, so yeah, that's Greg Vaughn. He's responsible for you guys getting married. So okay.
Shout out. Thanks, Greg. Oh yeah, it's amazing.
It's fun. That's North Texas. You never know who you're going to run into.
We are definitely looking forward to it. And if any of our viewers are going to be there, we look forward to seeing you too.
That's true. We really want to, the folks that, and I know several of the people who watch the show because I've met them at cons before. But we're definitely going to have to do a whole, Jordan drinking party kind of thing and get people together for that.
Trying to think of a good name for the beer we're going to have to bring now.
Yeah, you look at the adventuring that's gone on, and there's nothing good. I mean,
it's gonna be something related to fish or part almost cannibalism. So maybe we shouldn't bring anything on those fronts, but we'll find something. Find a good medium.
Yeah, we could always get Jim Wampler Fireball Brew or something like that.
Yeah, like one of the things that we've mentioned. We do like spicy beer. So yeah, not ruling it out entirely, but maybe we'll bring a jalapeno wheat beer. That if those flavors work well together, we'll see.
I don't know.
He likes spicy beers, so we'll see.
All right. Well, let's go ahead, and since we're going to be talking again on Monday and gaming,
2 days.
Let's go ahead and we'll close up the interview, and I will edit it, and it will be the Saturday show. So
all right, just make it condense all the beer talk out of it and just leave it as.
No, I think I'm probably going to leave it in, even with me being like, oh my God, I'm going to edit it out because I got nothing here. I'm probably going to leave. I tend not to edit out a whole lot unless I do something that makes me look really, really stupid. Then.
All right. In that case,
So
I will see you in a few days. I will let you know if we have friends that are free that wanted to try a fifth edition game.
yeah, because we've got 2 slots to fill, and obviously I can go out and fill them. But if you want to, given that the core is you and Gabe, if you want to throw some of your friends in there, we'll do that.
We'll ping our friends, see if they're free, and if they don't work, we'll grab whoever else is available.
Okay, sounds cool. And I think for the next ones with the players, what do you think of this idea? I get 2 people on at a time, and then get them talking about the other players.
Oh, man. Like the other group, I think we've mostly been, a lot of people have been watching each other's streams at the same time because I've seen Skeeter in our chats on the
I
Monday
bet you
night games.
Shane's got maps. Shane's got maps of this
Yeah,
place of the
probably.
5th
And
edition people.
yeah, I know Gabe and Ian have both been doing maps of the 5th edition, so this will be interesting to see and have them compare their notes. So yeah, that would be interesting in terms of the different dynamics.
Yeah, I think so. Because it's I think people get talking better if they've got 2 people on the conversation. So get 3 get 3 people in the conversation, and you may get people admitting to stuff they wouldn't otherwise admit to about themselves or something.
Yes, and it puts less impetus on you to ask the questions. You can just have them rip off each other.
Exactly. Which is what and oh my God, the both of the groups are really good about that. If I ever need to stop and work with minis or something like that, I've got no fears that something funny is not still going to be happening on those microphones.
Yeah, both groups, at least from the perspective of somebody that's been in both sides of it, they're hilarious people, and they will just chat amongst themselves and role play, and it will be amazing.
All right, so let's go ahead and we'll call it, and then what I'll do is I'll hit the stop broadcast button. We'll still be on here, but it won't be recording anymore. So for everyone in the audience, no matter what kind of Dungeons and Dragons it is that you play, imagine the hell out of it.